Hello everyone and welcome to the LSI F1 World Championship, the first round of the season in 2026 in the F1 25 game, and we've got Frantic who's pushing the limits here. Frustration shows on the wheel as they invalidate their lap. Welcome back though to League Racing in LSI. I cannot wait for this one. It's been a while since we last saw you, but we're finally here. And we're good to go. We see the six-time champion currently on top of the times, but Sulkin, the man in form since we left for last season, is up there and looking pretty quick and ready to go again on their outlap. We'll see what they can do. Verf, the championship contender last season, currently on a lap as well. We've got a few new drivers with us. In addition, the Constructors' champion from last season, Jericho Willis, in P10 at the moment. His teammate is no longer racing. Heischler will not join us for the season as they took their victory in a very long, hard season. But now we're back once again. Sulkin currently going into the first corner, braking as hard as they can, down the gears, flicking the wheel, getting right over that inside curb to try and maximise the track usage, and it's looked pretty quick, to be fair. Despite abusing that curve, you'd think that you might have got a bit of a slowdown kind of issue, but no, they look pretty strong, using some battery. Into the second chicane they go. It's going to be another game of trying to ride the curbs and using that minimum speed to build themselves, and they get that done quite nicely as well. Throttle on as you hit the apex to maximise that exit, and you're going to do the same thing here. More important though, as you've got a long straight, DRS open, carry that momentum, you need to maximise that exit, but now prepare yourself for the Ascari chicane, as once again the minimum speed will be crazy. You just want to keep it valid though, and that is very smooth from Sulkin in the Red Bull as they've managed to make it into the final sector. They've got one more corner to go to try and take them to the top. In the meantime, Verf has taken it away. A 17.922 is the time to beat. Sulkin currently not in the 17s, but not far off either. Here we are, up to the line, into the pit lane they'll go, and it's not going to be enough. 2 minutes on the clock, they can come out again, they'll have more time. Zingy once again out on track, racing permanently for the first time ever in a Williams. We're going to quickly try and re-invite our drivers, as they seem to be having some issues, but unfortunately that's the third invite, so if that's not going to work, we're going to have to leave it there, and hopefully everything is all good, but we shall see. Alrighty, that's all good. And we should be good to go as Zingy prepares for their final run here in Monza. Many drivers doing the same thing. A few in the pit lane. Frantic is done with the session. They retire. They cannot have the desire to improve, so they'll let that be. It's the Scotsman to the first corner. Downshifting the gears, using the engine braking. Are they going to flick that wheel? They do get a bit of a flick on it. Not as much and as aggressive as Sulkin had, but still pretty aggressive. Onto the grass slightly. That's not going to be very good for their lap time. It's going to scrub some speed, but minimal, I'd say. So they might have just got away with that one. Pretty much dead on their time. Slightly up as they go through the second chicane. That was much better than what we saw from Sulkin a few moments ago, but a big miss of the apex there as they got a bit of understeer into the first Lesmo. The second Lesmo a lot better, slightly compromised on the exit, once again tapping the grass. DRS, ERS, and over the sector line. What's it going to be for Zingy as they come into the braking zone? They're pretty much dead on their time again, just matching it. Oh, a big loss of traction, and they've had to correct that. That's going to be a terrible run into the final corner, and unfortunately, a really difficult final lap. Sulkin, I don't think, got another lap in the end. Verf is done with qualifying. What's it going to be for the Scotsman, who tries to take pole position back from where they had earlier on? And it's not going to be enough to improve at all. Their teammate is invalidated on their lap. We've got Egapro in P6 at the moment, followed by Jericho Willis. We've got King Kubra in P9 as they finish the session. Hopefully their connection issues aren't too much of an issue. Egapro is invalid and they will not be able to improve again. We've got Jericho Willis across the line. What's it going to be? They go to P9. A 19.155. Tom across the line finishes qualifying. And it's Verf on a pole position. The championship contender from last season once again starts the season on top. They won the first race, I believe, in Austria. An absolutely phenomenal drive. But then it just didn't quite go to plan in the middle of the season. What can we see from them today? A lovely qualifying to start us off then. As we get back into racing, I do apologise myself. I need to make sure I'm warmed up into this all. It's going to take some time. But Zverf on pole position by under half a tenth of a second. Zingy P2 and Sulkin in P3. The race director's on your screen. And we'll be back for the race. Do not miss it. Ready, hold, go! Who's going to get it into turn one? We're away. Verf on pole position gets a brilliant launch. It's Zingy who struggles off the line. And the Red Bull's going to go side by side. Surely the inside line, the far inside line. Oh, that's never going to work. Verf's off the circuit. Zingy makes contact. It's going to be Charlie coming through as well to compete for P2. I do not believe it. It's 3 wide through the Grande Curve. It's the inside line, then to the outside line now for the Williams. Is it going to be a Williams 1-2 as Charlie pushes the Red Bull far to the inside but has to back out? That is a brilliant opening lap from Charlie, just not quite enough to get another position, but Verf all the way down to P4. Not going to be happy with being pushed right off at the start of the race. They're going to try and find their way back through, but we know they've got the pace to do so, although the top few drivers have been really close in qualifying, so it's going to be a tough race outright. F1 Lucas in P5 at the moment, the second Red Bull car, looking pretty quick in the opening stages. Egapro, the F1 2019 champion of Season 2, currently in P6. And then we've got Frantic, the reigning European champion from last season, looking to try and do something in their Alpine. Jericho Willis had a pretty good start as they've made an extra position off the line. And we've got Master Oath in P10. Unfortunately, the connection issues continue and we will not be able to see King Cooper in the rest of the race, and it's going to be Zingy at a bit of pressure from Solkin, but it's only the opening lap. DRS will kick in this lap, so they're going to be looking for the real overtakes in a few corners' time. Maybe about a lap's time, I should say. Okay, I'm kind of curious to see what the 2-litre bottle of cream soda is gonna go down like, but we'll see. I'm sure he can give it a good shot. Come on, let's see that let's see that P2. We need the 2 litres. No, of course I want Lucas to win this race as much as anybody, so hopefully they can have a good race regardless and everyone can enjoy it. Zingy currently enjoying the clean air up front, Solkin not so much as they've got some pressure behind in P2. Charlie continues to mound it on. The 2 Williams will be communicating and there will be some teamwork going on, I'm sure, but right now there's not really much that they can do teamwork wise because Solkin is still sitting in that position and being strong. Charlie can be aggressive, they can push, they can force to attack Zingy, but unfortunately the battery just isn't going to be there. Zingy goes defensive to try and help out his teammate. It's going to be quite effective just to put the pressure on and continue to drain the battery from the Red Bull, but other than that, nothing too much more happens. Verf sat in P4 after their start. It was a tricky one for sure. There it is though, the inside line. Charlie takes it and there's gonna be no coming back from that kind of move. This early on in the Grand Prix, it wouldn't be worth risking your front wing. The Scotsman looking very, very quick. I will say they've done a very good job to get this one done, signing up at the last minute and turning up to the first race here in Monza. And they won last time around in the season opener in Zandvoort. It was the last race won by Verf in Japan. So the momentum definitely can go to Zingy in the first few races of the season. It's just how the rest of their season goes according to their championship hopes. Charlie now set in P2. It's officially a Williams 1-2 as we start lap 4 of the Grand Prix. Will we see an overtake between teammates? No, we're going to have to see some sort of defensive throw here because Solkin is coming back through, pushing the battery, forcing some sort of formation. They're going to look to the outside line. They're going to bleed their nose in. That's never going to work. There's going to be contact, and unfortunately, it's going to now be a bit of a tense drag race all the way to the following corner. This is as tight as it gets. Oh, I don't like this at all. It's perfect though, perfect stuff. The inside line to Solkin. Charlie is going to have to back out on that one. Verf will not get involved, but it could be a good exit here for Charlie. It's going to be the inside line and it's going to be the move back again. I do not believe what we're seeing. It's Zingy getting a free opportunity to possibly break away, and it might have just been enough. Is DRS available to the Williams car? Very luckily indeed for Charlie it is. Otherwise that would have been the Scotsman broken away, and actually it might even be Zingy broken away because they've got battery to spare and they are still 9/10 in front. What will Zingy do? Are they going to push on the battery? They're not. They're going to allow their teammate to hold on just at the ragged edge of the DRS range, that 1 second margin. And that is going to be perfect because now there is effectively an entire second for DRS to be used and gained on their teammate ahead. They don't need to worry about using battery. They should be good to go. Lots of switching left and right here as they all go into the braking zone, just trying to spot their braking points. There's Eagle and Frantic, the 2 main drivers to do that kind of thing. Lucas, in the meantime, has lost a few positions but still in the train as we see the top 8 continue. Master Oath and Tom racing each other a little bit further behind, and we'll check in on those guys in a few moments time. Right now I don't think we're going to see an overtake into the Ascari chicane because Charlie's caught up nicely to Zingy, and I think the train's just going to settle itself. Master Oath and Tom sat right behind. Tom loves this circuit, one of their favourites, if not their favourite, and they might find an overtake here. DRS being used, but ERS just not going to be used early enough to really trigger that move, so they will hold off for now. I think they were hoping to get a wheel at some point, but whether Tom is on a wheel or not, I'm not entirely sure. We'll have to find out in the post-race interviews if they can join us later on, and make sure you don't miss that, because we've still got more after the race finishes. And all the drivers cross the line. Crossing the line once more though, Charlie on to lap 6 of the Grand Prix, sits 8 tenths behind their teammate with not too much pressure from behind. It's going to be Egapro and Frantic though who do switch positions, and Frantic goes ahead of the Serbian, as now they see the bright green car of Verf looking in that phenomenal livery. Not quite so bright green from Frantic's POV though. They will just sit and wait for the moment. That is going to be Jericho Willis. Oh, Jericho Willis and Lucas switching positions. I think it was just a mistake from Lucas's end, unfortunately. The front wing's still intact. There wasn't a big off. It was just a momentary moment, and unfortunately now they're out of that DRS range. It's going to be very difficult to get back in it. The race is not over though. They should not give up, because we've still got the pit stops to come along. It's a long old race, 6 laps down only. We've got a large majority of this race to still go. That is a 3-second time penalty for Tom when they bring the first penalty of the lot. We'll have a look at the situation of the tyres, and it's going to be a pit stop already. We've got Zingy into the pit lane on lap 6 lap of medium tyres I should say, on lap 7 of the Grand Prix. They're going to put on, I'd assume, a fresh set of hard tyres, and they do. I was going to say that, I didn't just wait, although I did end up waiting. But yeah, absolutely incredible stuff. Are we going to see anybody react to the Scotsman? Or is it all just going to be a bit of a blind move here from Zingy and no one's going to follow along? I don't know. I think it really depends, because if Charlie follows along with their teammate, then everybody else might dive in. A 1-stop, a 2-stop, I don't know, but we know Zingy's on the 2-stop because they pitted way too early to make that a 1-stop. Surely. But I just don't know which tyre they'll go for their third choice, whether it will be a second medium or a soft tyre. That could be on the cards in the later stages. Charlie's put a phenomenal lap in after their teammates broken away. They've managed to break away from DRS. Are they going to take this opportunity to extend another lap? They don't. It's going to be Sulkin who continues, but Charlie does follow along, and the two teammates will go hand in hand. And we'll see what the undercut is like as Charlie enters the pit lane. Zingy currently at the back of the pack. That's the wrong car that we're looking at here, unfortunately. I do apologise. There we are. We've got the Scotsman, who is going to be running to the first corner. They don't have DRS, but they do have the upper hand on their teammate. And that will be a lovely move and a decent gain. 1 lap fresher tyres for Charlie, but effectively we've got like a 2-second advantage. Zingy's got a 2-second advantage over his teammate, and I don't know if he's going to be able to kind of, you know, get away with it if he loses this one. A 2-second advantage is going to be quite comfortable for them at the moment. But Sulkin, Verf, Frantic, Eager Pro, Jericho Willis all running together. They haven't pitted. We've got Lucas in the background as well, trying to do what they can. Master Oath, who also hasn't pitted, but Tom has followed along with the 2 Williams cars to follow their strategy. Will we see anybody else go to the pit lane? We do. We get Verf. Verf is into the pit lane. More continue, lap after lap. We're getting a slow trickle of cars, and that is good, because we get to see some very different strategies, very different pit lane windows And it's just going to mix everything up all the way to the end, and we'll see who really has the advantage. 2 laps advantage to Verf, or is it going to be the 2, 3, 4 seconds it looks like it could be to Zingy? That is an incredible gap that Zingy's managed to get now as their tyres are warmed up and all of the other cars are slowly wearing out their tyres a little bit more. Looking at the gap now, Verf has 0.6, half a second effectively, and then another, yeah, pretty much we've got 5 seconds almost to Zingy, 5-6 seconds to Zingy. Absolutely insane stuff. But the battle here isn't really battling at the moment. There's not a train. They're not trading for DRS. They're just sat behind Sulkin, and Sulkin's no slouch at all, but on the old tyres, it's only going to lose them time. Jericho Willis hasn't been able to hold on as their tyres have now dropped off. That medium tyre is going to be tricky at this stage of the Grand Prix, I'm sure. Will it be the pit lane for Sulkin? They stay out once more. The 2 hard tyres stay out, and so does Jericho Willis. They continue. Lucas follows along as well. They're going for the 1 stop. It would be foolish to not pit along with the other guys who are going for the 2 stop and then still pit now for the 2 stop. You would just lose any advantage that you may have had. So they're going to have to try and play it cool. Oh, mistake there for Sulkin. So a bit of a moment on entry to the chicane. It allows Frantic to be quite comfortable. As they've also got Igor following along. These two are going to be looking to take that position, I'm sure, in a few moments' time, as Sulkin continues to try and extend these tyres to push as long as they possibly can. Looking for that 1 stop on the hards on medium, starting with this medium tyre though. Frantic and Igor still have a little bit more of an exploration stop. They could still do a double medium at this stage of the Grand Prix. I don't think they will. I think they'll probably try and do the 1 stop, but we'll find out. Sulkin looks like they're going into the pit lane, and they will do so. And it's now Eager Pro and Frantic who lead the way. Frantic with a bit of DRS, so it's not going to be possible for Igor to make a move. They will just stay behind for now. On lap 11 out of 27, and we see most of the cars pits. The top 3 and the top 4 are still out on track at the moment. Charlie has brought back a brilliant 1 second onto their teammate, and they're almost within DRS range. That is absolutely fantastic from Charlie, looking very strong, making a statement between the 2 of the team. Verf 4 seconds back on Charlie. They've pretty much maintained pace with the cars ahead. That's going to be more difficult as Charlie now closes in on DRS range. In the meantime, we've got our second time penalty master open, P4 at this stage of the race. Sulkin 5.3 seconds behind Verf, and then Jericho Willis a little bit further behind Sulkin. That is such an incredible gap that Verf has to Sulkin, let alone the gaps that we see a bit further up. It's definitely spread this race out massively. It's going to be a tyre game to the end of this race, but it's going to be about the 1 stops versus the 2 stops, and Sulkin looks to go just under 17 laps on this tyre, as their 1 stop is their attempt at trying to take victory here in Monza. And it was their first victory in LSI that they took at this circuit last season. LSI F1, I should say, and they definitely enjoyed it. Can they do it again in the very next running of the Temple of Speed, the fastest circuit on the calendar, I believe? That's Master Oath into the pit lane, onto the medium tyre. The only car out on the medium tyre at the moment. But we're going to go back to this battle here, because we've got Eager Pro and Frantic. They've switched positions, but whether they scrambled for that overtake or not, I don't quite know. They continue to go on the long run in the opening stages, as they didn't need to pit, and Frantic will just sit behind. Now it looks like they're also going for the one stop, so I don't think the two stop is going to be viable. I think they would have probably already pitted around where Sulkin pitted if they wanted to go for a two stop on the hard tyre to begin with. And there it is. The overtake being queued up, being made, and complete by Frantic into the first corner. They will go. And that's the DRS games. Not really games, but strategies that they can use as they slingshot themselves ahead. You can see Lucas in the background of this race. Sulkin was the fastest lap of the Grand Prix now as they prove their pace, looking very strong. We're not going to see another overtake, I don't think, from these two, but we might see something here from Tom. Tom will stay back from Jericho Willis as Jericho is on slightly fresher tyres. These two nice and close together on track at the moment. We've got Zingy and Charlie who've switched positions in the meantime after all of this battling. And Charlie definitely seems to be showing some good confidence. In the later stages of the Grand Prix, the endurance is kicking in. We do know that Zingy's got a slight issue. A slight injury, I believe, with their foot. So, unfortunately, it's going to be a tricky one. But a slight injury to the timing pages. Charlie has one, a bandage across their name. Unfortunately, a 3-second time penalty has been applied as they've extended track limits too many times. It's one of the circuits that you can easily rack up a few track limits and be in trouble. And that's exactly what you can see on your screen right now. That has changed everything. Zingy looked like they were losing it and it might be all Charlie's day, but no, it's changed now. Charlie, they've got to try and figure out how this one's going to play out, because if nobody else gets time penalties, then they could be in trouble and they have to work with their teammate. Unless there's a chance that maybe that is not a legit time penalty, that would be very convenient. For now, we'll have to just drive the race and see, as he's not exactly going slowly. They're pushing the limits there, going a little bit sideways on the exit of the second chicane. And on the second Lesmo, Charlie's trying to get a move on as well. You can see the cars wiggling slightly as they try to keep each other on edge. And just behind Verf is not too far away, to be honest, as they realise what's ahead. And we've got Charlie and Zingy with this two-stop strategy already catching up to the back of Lucas now. Frantic and Egopro stay out as they switch positions. And these two might encounter some traffic before they go in for their second pit stop. Well, they would have to. Otherwise, their pit stop would not really be worth it at all if they pit on exactly the same lap time. They're pushing each other very hard. It's going to be a switch as they will make that slingshot work incredibly well. And that's one of the best slingshots that I've seen in a while. They pushed each other to the limit, really maximised that pace, and then switched it around when they needed to. And now they're 1.6 seconds behind Lucas. They're going to have to try and figure out a plan of how to overtake the Red Bull as fast as possible, as efficiently as possible. It's not going to be easy, but I think it might just have to be everyone for themselves in this scenario, because with a time penalty to Charlie's name, why would it be worth Zingy sacrificing himself for the teammate that has a time penalty? I'm not entirely sure. It really depends on where Charlie's positioned relative to Zingy on track, how close they are, and if they've both got enough battery to pass that Red Bull into the first corner. That's where they're looking to make the move. No pit stops yet, but it could still be possible here from Frantic, Egopro and Lucas. I think we might see the Red Bull into the pit lane this lap to avoid getting overtaken on circuit, but no pit stops from the cars ahead. It is the Red Bull going in to the right hand side. A slingshot might not be possible here. Charlie's saving the battery. Double DRS has kicked in there, as you can see. Both Williams have that DRS, and in the meantime, Verf 3.2 seconds behind. They have slowly gained here and there as they're Finding some decent performance, the pole sitter from this race, and Sulkin setting some fastest laps earlier on. They've also gained a bit of time on Verf, but the pack is still spread out, and that 2-lap difference I'm not convinced is going to be that beneficial. I think either Verf has smashed this strategy out of the park, or Charlie and Zingy are going to dominate, but I'm just not quite sure. This is going to be a close one. It's going to go to the wire, and there's going to be some overtakes needed to be made by Zingy and Charlie if they do want to take victory here in Monza. Very close to track limits is Zingy. They're not making it easy for themselves. A lot of stress here. But I'm sure they can make it work. Looking like they're pushing the limits through Parabolica. Who's going to make the call into the pit lane? Well, Charlie might go for the overtaking to the first corner, but depending on the time penalties, really they should be making a decision on who should pit based on that. Unless Charlie's convinced that their time penalty is illegitimate. Alrighty. That's a switch up there. Eager Pro and Tom make a change in the order. As we see Eagle go into the pit lane, Frantic left out front. As they continue on their run, we will expect to see Frantic in the pit lane at some point soon then. Maybe this lap. Eager Pro had to re-overtake Tom. They've now got ahead, and now they're flying on this fresh set of medium tyres. You can see the momentum they can carry through the corners. There it is, Frantic into the pit lane. It's also going to be Charlie going for the early stop ahead of their teammate. And that's Zingy now going to be hung out to dry a little bit. That could compromise things. All of a sudden, with the undercut that we saw earlier on, Zingy could be in trouble. They've got to pit. They've got to react to their teammate. They're absolutely crucial. Verf, 3.3 seconds, still gaining time on the Scotsman. And they're not going to be pitting again. Neither is Sulkin. So there's some work to do in this Grand Prix. And it's not going to be an easy field to overtake either. Charlie all the way down to P8. And now they're going to be racing with the Red Bull to try and get that move back. Eager Pro almost up to the back of Jericho Willis as they look to try and make these tyres work. It's going to be Zingy and Verf switching as there's a mistake there for the Scotsman. I do not believe it. Something's happened in the Lesmos and Verf has got through. Zingy's in trouble and Charlie, according to the pit stop window, could be our new race leader, or Verf has just got the job done. Zingy is either going to do one of two things: fight Verf to try and get Charlie in for a chance of winning this race, or go into the pit lane and try and salvage what's left. They're going to have to pit. It's the obvious choice. Absolutely drastic. I do not believe it. It gets worse. Zingy, a 10-second time penalty to their name, looking like the strong contender, maybe even the strongest, is now in turmoil. How do you come back from this? I don't quite know, but Verf, from pole position to being pushed off at the beginning of the race, is now back in the lead of the Grand Prix by 3.8 seconds. And the race winner from the last time in Japan is continuing on strong form. Sulkin finished P2 in that race and is currently running P2. Eager Pro trying to do what they can to get this podium here, but they've got pressure from Jericho Willis. They've made that move. Jericho Willis looking to try and go to the end of the race on this time, I believe. It's going to be a difficult one for sure though. Frantic catching up as they went a little bit later into the pit lane relative to Igor, but is that difference going to be enough by the time we get to the end of the Grand Prix? We know that Frantic is very quick in that car. Now Charlie continues with the battles. And they're going to be one to watch for the rest of this race. As Lucas was their first overtake to be done. And now they'll try and use these tyres, use the grip. Although that's going to be a little bit complicated relative to Frantic and Eager Pro at this phase of the race. Frantic not going to find it too complicated at all. The outside line's going to be the case. It's going to be a defensive throw from Jericho Willis, and then the switchback will be looked upon. But it won't actually be achieved. And that is a brilliant defence from Jericho Willis, known for their fantastic defensive capabilities from back in the F1.5 early days, before they even won the championship 2 seasons ago now. How time flies, but they still hold that name, and they still prove why they have it. The defensive king. Can they keep the Alpine behind for any longer though? I'm not entirely sure. Frantic not able to get a good enough exit. Still putting that pressure on. That's a brilliant effort. Master Oath unfortunately down the order and off the circuit. I'm not entirely sure what's going on. They retire from the session out on track. No safety car will be deployed. We are lucky for that. And there is the car pulling off to the left-hand side. The top two, Verf and Sulkin. And the tyres are definitely making a difference here. 2.1 seconds. Sulkin's finding some very good ground in this race. And we've got a decent few laps in the race to really make that difference. This is very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Oh, it's a hell of a battle into the first corner, and Frantic had a bit of a squeaky moment there. That could have gone horribly wrong. They had the Aston Martin going slightly defensive. Just a slight misjudgment on the brakes and you'd have gone straight into the back of Eager Pro, but no, Frantic held their nerve and they were able to get ahead of Jericho Willis in the meantime. That wasn't an easy situation to be in, but these guys are fighting for the final step on the podium as they try and battle against the might of Charlie in the Williams, who's going to try and come back through here, although with the time penalty, to see what they can do. I think you might be drinking that 2-litre bottle, I can't lie. As we see the gap get closer and closer, even sooner than I thought, and Sulkin might even be looking for the move into the first corner at this stage of the Grand Prix. They will stay behind for now. It's a little bit optimistic from my side, but there is going to be a hell of a battle here with Eager Pro. Frantic is not willing to make a move, so the train will just be held at the moment. Zingy and P8 on a fresh set of hard tyres, looking at their situation regardless of the time penalty. After that mistake, they would have been pretty far behind anyway, but with the 10 seconds, they're going to have a frustrating time. But no moves here for anyone. Sulkin still not in a position to overtake just yet, but I think turn 1 might be their call. It might be their move. It might be their lead. Well, this is our first race of the season before we head into next weekend with the first sprint race event in Zandvoort. This has been a brilliant race so far, and we've only got a few more laps remaining. Sulkin takes the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time, and we'll see. I say the first time, they were leading earlier on, but the first time now on track rather than regarding the pit stop situation. And that's Charlie going for the move on Jericho Willis. It almost looked like there was going to be contact with Frantic, but they just held it together. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I am going to go and look at the replay in a bit, because that was as close as it's ever going to get. Incredible stuff there for Charlie to be able to not put that into the back of the Alpine. Amazing. Egapro still holds on ahead here for the podium. Verth doesn't seem to be able to compete here. The pace is not there on these tyres. 2 laps difference is absolutely insane. Incredible stuff. And Verth, although having some phenomenal pace and maybe could have changed the course of this race very slightly if they weren't forced off the circuit at the beginning, I don't think they're really going to be able to find anything against the Red Bull. I think Sulkin might be able to run away with this one at this stage of the Grand Prix. In the background you can see Zingy trying to line up a move on Lucas. After their mistake, Lucas has been quietly in the background, but we know that they've got the pace and we can't wait to see how the rest of their season is going to go. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. Charlie trying to put the pressure on, force Frantic to have a look at something here or there, but no. Frantic stays behind and doesn't really feel the need to do anything. They just stick it in P4, but it's going to change now as Charlie's made the move. They've made the decision to go for it at least, but the battery isn't exactly there. Frantic does back off, allows Charlie to go for it. Backs off very prematurely actually. And it's going to be quite comforting for Jericho Willis to now stay within DRS range for another few corners, despite their very compromised tyres. But it's also just going to make it easier for Charlie, because now Frantic's not going to be too much of a threat. Although that being said, with the battery they've immediately diminished that, and now they're back in contention for this podium. Unless they miss an apex, then that's going to be a little bit more complicated. And a lot of momentum's just been lost there, because now Egapro and Charlie are going to be focusing on each other rather than the Alpine. Unfortunately, Lucas is down the order there once again at the Ascari chicane, having a bit of a struggle. I say once again, but once again having an issue, this time at the Ascari chicane. Hopefully they don't have any issues. It's Charlie into P3 as they make the move on Egapro. Egapro still in the podium positions, but regardless of time penalty or not, you still want to try and get that position on track, just in case another driver tries to get their time penalty removed. Otherwise you could be in trouble if you don't do so. Just a couple more laps to go in this Grand Prix, and we will call it quits. Sulkin 3 seconds ahead of Verth. Verth 5 seconds ahead of Charlie, and then this is the battle for the podium position. What a race we have had, what a race we've seen. We've got a few issues here or there, and currently Zingy's actually looking at a possible P7 with Lucas at 8 seconds. They only need 2 more seconds, less than 2 seconds to gain in 2 laps, and they'll be able to secure that P7 position after a difficult strategy they've had. And I say only because Lucas has got that 9-lap-old medium tyre. After spinning, they're going to be definitely on quite a bit of low pace, whereas Zingy's got some fairly decent hard tyres that they can take to the end of this Grand Prix. That's going to be a little bit of a squeaky one, I think, that we need to keep an eye on. Sulkin's not going to be contested, Verth's not going to be contested. It's all about the podium here in LSI. What can happen? No moves for now. Egapro is locked on to the back of Charlie. They know how they can play this one out. They've not got the tyre advantage on Frantic, but they've got the position advantage. They've got that clear DRS shot at Charlie, and they've got Frantic behind them locked in. That double DRS just is so impossible to compete against. If you're third in a train of cars, if you get DRS, then so does the car ahead, and all of a sudden DRS is pointless. That being said, Egapro's made a mistake, and now everything changes. Will they be able to recover, or is that DRS gone? Egapro is in trouble. DRS is now out, and unless they can find a bit more battery here into the final stages of the lap, with the flashing light on the back of that car, I'm not convinced. And Frantic now has every chance of getting this podium. Here we go, ERS, DRS, and nothing left for Igor. No battery at all on the final lap of the Grand Prix. And there, the move is for the podium positions. And what a way to lose it. A mistake on the penultimate lap that leads half a lap later into the final lap. And now Frantic might just have it. And Jericho Willis is even involved in a maybe final attack. How's this one going to ride to the end of the Grand Prix? I don't quite know. Charlie, a brilliant performance, trying to put in the final stint here to get that 3 seconds. It's a very tall order. It's not impossible as long as you run it to the absolute edge, to the end. They might be able to get ahead of Jericho Willis if they are lucky. And I say lucky, 2.2 seconds, 8 tenths. At this rate, they're going to get ahead of Igapro, and they might even have a chance at that position. Maybe I'm a little bit kidding myself here, but that is a phenomenal performance. We've got Sulkin coming around the final corner for a brilliant drive in the final stages to dominate. Sulkin wins the Italian Grand Prix and leads the championship. We've got Charlie. Oh, I don't believe it. Verf's had it off. Verf's had it off. It's a puncture in the final corner. The P2 runner is now all the way down, and absolute tragedy strikes. They're going to lose even more. They can't control the car. Verf is down. Frantic, P2, and Charlie has managed to get a podium out of all of that. They beat Igapro in the end. And then Jericho Willis in P5 ahead of Zingy. Zingy just beats Lucas in the end on time penalties, 0.158 seconds. Absolutely incredible. What a race. What a race. Oh, I don't believe it. Verf cannot catch a break, pushed off at the start of the race and a puncture at the end. That just wasn't their day. But they did win the second round of last season, so maybe they can repeat it again if they can make it to the race. Sulkin wins in Monza, Frantic in P2, and Charlie in P3. We've got Igapro, Jericho Willis, Zingy for the fastest lap, Lucas, Verf, Tom, and then disconnecting earlier on was Kinkabra, and we've got Master Oath in P11 DNFing earlier on. The race director's on your screen just in case if we need to see it, because it is Monza and it's very difficult on track limits. There's the pit stops, and we'll just get the session results. We'll be back in a bit for the post-race interviews, and we'll try and hear from how the 2 litres of cream soda goes. See you in a bit. Bye-bye. Hello everyone and welcome to the post-race interviews of the Italian Grand Prix. That was one hell of a race that we just had. Tom, we start with you. A circuit that you enjoy. Can you take us through your race? You were definitely having some good battles in the beginning there.
Yeah, first off in qualifying, I had a stinker of a lap. In my best lap time, I lost 5/10 in the last sector, which was really annoying because it was like 2 or 3 positions in qualifying. Yeah, and then the race start. It went quite well, and I was surprised that nothing major happened into the first turn. But then I felt like, for some reason, my top speed wasn't good enough, which was really strange in comparison to my, especially because of my wings and and so on. Yeah, and then my typical mistake in the early lap, down out of the DRS, and then there's just no chance to recover from it. And then also I struggled so much with my tires in the race. In my practice sessions, the one stop was possible for me. Not easy, but I managed to get it. But now in the race, no chance at all. My tires just died every lap in comparison to the practice, so had to switch to the two-stop in the end, which I knew is just giga slow comparison. And yeah, then no chance to recover. Had some really good lap times later on, which were comparable for a few laps with the other guys, but also overall just like the overall pace.
With the tyres then, we had a few bits of the race where there was some clouds, so what do you think was going on there? If the track was a bit cooler than optimal, why were the tyres wearing so much? Do you know?
Probably I was just pushing more than my practice sessions, because I missed the natural pace from some of the other drivers. I would say that was a contributing factor, but else I don't know, because I was practicing with like full sun.
Yeah. That's a confusing one, but thank you very much for the insight there, and hopefully you can try and figure it out for Zandvoort. Zandvoort's going to be a sprint event, so I hope you like sprint races. Thank you very much, Tom. Really good effort today, and welcome back. We'll see you next time. And we move on to Frantic. What a race! What a race! A lovely P2 position to take there, and show some brilliant performance. I'll just let you speak about your race for a minute, and then I want to ask another question in a minute. Take us through it.
All right, sure. Yeah, let's go. That's a genuine hoo-ha. Didn't expect that one in my first race in the 0.1 tier. So yeah, I'm happy with that one. Honestly, I didn't bother practicing much since Monza is quite boring, I must say. I tried to be cheeky with my strategy, so I started on hards for a one stop. So I tried to extend till lap 17, but I was saving too much basically, so I could extend to lap 19. So that's awesome. That's very fantastic. Igor did the same thing as well, so that was helpful because we could swap positions the whole time. So big thanks to him. Well, yeah, and I also managed to gain a free position at the end. That's very unfortunate for Verve, it was, I think. So RIP to him. But overall, yeah, good race. Strategy worked for once. So I'm happy with that. Also, like, I really enjoy these regulations. They are so cool. My front wing didn't open though, so that's strange.
Yeah, maybe we'll see that in a few months before they update the cars. But yeah, thank you very much. I have a question about the pit stops though. Do you think if it played out a bit different, you might have been able to take victory? Are you happy with when you pitted? Do you think it was the optimal result that you could have got today?
Yeah, I think it was the most optimal. Honestly, I didn't think I would have gotten a podium at all. I'm also quite surprised by my quality position, honestly. But I think I extended my tires to the maximum basically because they were, I think it was 82% or something. So I couldn't extend them anymore. Right. Otherwise, I would have ended up like Verve, and we don't want that shit. Like, come on.
Yeah, we don't for sure. But I mean, you know, you've had some pretty good performances in the last few races, so maybe you shouldn't be so surprised. Maybe it should be a regular thing. Thank you very much, Frantic. Really good job today. Congratulations, and we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it.
P2 in the Drivers' Championship, by the way.
Let's go.
See you next time. Thank you.
You know how I do it.
And we move into P1 in the Drivers' Championship. Solkin, absolutely phenomenal drive there. The qualifying situation, I thought you were going to get pole position. It didn't quite go that way, but later on, what was that pace towards the end of the race? I don't believe it.
Yeah, like you said, my quali lap, I didn't get my last quali lap in, but I knew I could be up there. When I practice, I could do 117.6, 117.7, so I was quite quick. The practice went 20, to my opinion, and yeah, the race just managed to do the one stop. It was the optimal. Managed to drag out my tires to lap 10, still on 72 wear, and then when we got to the race, yeah, like when we got to the second stint, it was quite good. The hards, well, did work perfectly. I could push a lot more than I believed I could do in my practice, because when I practiced I was like always giving like 76, 78 when I was like saving with the hards, but I think when I was behind the Worth for like 2 laps, I managed to be in his slipstream, and that made my tire wear not be as bad as it was in practice, because when in practice you're all alone and the AI is like 20 seconds behind you.
Yeah.
So yeah, the pace was really good today. I was more quick than I believed I would be, because like when I did my practice was like 121, 122s, but today I could consistently stay in the 121s on the mediums, and when they weared off, the mediums got slower and slower, of course, but I didn't hit 123, I believe, with the mediums, but I did yesterday, so yeah, happy with the tire strategy.
Yeah, it looked pretty good to me. And you've taken those maximum points. You're the championship leader going into the sprint race. I'm not going to ask you about Zandvoort, but I'm going to ask you about sprint races. Do you like that format? 2 chances to try and take victory. Is that something that you're into, or do you prefer the one race focus?
Well, I think the non-pit sprint race is quite interesting, because then you see all pace, no like pit stop penalties and stuff if there's not any safety cars. So I think it's quite good. Yeah, I really like sprint races because of that reason. You can show your pace, and you can show how good you are in those situations you get in when there's stressful at the start. Yeah.
Sounds good. I can't wait. I'll see you there. Thank you very much, Solkin. Really good job today. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
And we move on to Zingy. Zingy, that was a tough one. 2 mistakes just really messed you up there. You had some brilliant pace. The 2-stop, I was slightly doubting it, but at the same time I was thinking you were probably the second, if not the the strongest contender for the race victory until those issues. Can you take us through what happened? If you're there. I'm not sure if things...
Yeah, basically at the start, I had a good race up until those mistakes. I was really fast. Me and Charlie were helping each other with the slipstream DRS, comms and all sorts, and then it got to my second pit lap. I was on 70% on the hards, and I just got absolutely cooked, and I had a little half spin, and from there on I was just playing catch up. And I mean, without the 2 mistakes with that in the what was it, the 10-second penalty in the pit lane, I think I would have been alright, because at the end you seen I was battling Igor and that, but I already lost 5 seconds to the spin, so I would have been probably where Charlie was in that top 3 battle. But it's just a shame that it ended up like that, and yeah.
Do you think you would have been able to compete for the victory today with the gaps that Solkin and Verth had?
I think I've always got a chance. I just need to not make silly mistakes as I done, and then I should be alright.
And do you think the 2-stop strategy was the right call today?
No, definitely not.
Fair enough. He admits it, and very honest. That's fair enough. I am sure you're very, very looking forward to the sprint race in Zandvoort. That's going to be absolutely awesome. I can't wait. Thank you very much, Zingy. Really good effort today. Unfortunate for the mistakes, but a brilliant recovery and some good points regardless. Thank you.
Thanks.
And we move on to the end of the stream. It's been a pleasure. We will see you tomorrow for the LSI F1.5 EU Championship. We'll see you next weekend for the Dutch Grand Prix for a sprint race as well. The sprint qualifying is going to be brutal. That's going to mix up the grid entirely. I can't wait. I've said it again. I'll say it again. Thank you very much and good night.